I've been reading Dr. Gabriel Cousens' book, Spiritual Nutrition, in which he shares the 6 foundations of spiritual life. Dr. Cousens has spent decades researching, teaching, and supporting those going through Kundalini awakenings after he went through his Kundalini awakening at the hands of his master in India in the mid 70s. These 6 foundations for spiritual life are what he has found to be absolutely essential for anybody who's seeking to go through a Kundalini awakening, who is going through a Kundalini awakening, or who has gone through a Kundalini awakening. Because this point in his book, I found very little talked about is that a real Kundalini awakening may start suddenly, but will last a minimum of 3 years and potentially much longer. And what Dr. Cousins has found in his work with those going through Kundalini awakenings is many will have the early stages, and of which he says there are 3 total. And so many will experience the first initial pulse, but will never fully reap the benefits of the intense flow of energy because they never get to the second or third. And in fact, sometimes the energy will cool back down and they'll start all over again. This idea of the 3 phases of Kundalini awakening is almost completely ignored on social media and by the modern proponents of Kundalini. So, what are these 6 foundations of spiritual life that he discusses? The first pillar is nutrition. And specifically, he means nutrition that's designed to support the spiritual process, which is veganism, which is organic. Now, organic doesn't necessarily mean organic label, because unfortunately, the organic label in the United States doesn't mean a whole lot in a lot of cases, besides that the business paid a little extra to get that certification. What we really mean by organic is pesticide free, toxin free. We also want foods that are high in mineral content. Unfortunately, the degradation of the topsoil across the world, and particularly in the United States, has led to foods that look beautiful and taste good, but don't have the mineral content which is needed to support our body, and particularly the electrical pathways in our body which support the Kundalini awakening. He also discusses the need for clear water. This is energetically structured water. In addition, nutrition also covers spiritual fasting, which is an essential practice for the detoxification of our body and removing pesticides, heavy metals that we find in our diet unavoidably at this point. We have to give our immune system a break from constantly ingesting toxins and potential environmental triggers. The second pillar are exercises that support development of the prana in the body. Classically, this is pranayama or yogic breath work. This might also include Reiki, might include Tai Chi, and a number of other practices from various traditions. This type of practice is essential for a Kundalini awakening because it purifies the energy pathways of the body. It also builds up our store of prana, particularly the inflow prana, which is one of the 2 types of prana that we find in the bodies. And then this prana is necessary to interact with the Shakti prana in the base of our spine and cause a full Kundalini awakening. The third foundation of spiritual life is charity, is service. One of the impediments that we find ourselves locked in this world is a desire for things and a desire for status and a desire for pleasure. And by giving up our time, by giving up our money, and by making ourselves in service to the lowest, we actually bring ourselves higher in the spiritual realm. The fourth foundation is spiritual inspiration and study. Dr. Cousins specifically mentions the practice of darshan, which is where you sit and listen to a spiritual talk from somebody who may be a master or maybe just is a little more advanced than you on the path. But it's not necessarily about the content only, but also the direct inspiration, the energy that comes by being in such a gathering. He also talks about having a spiritual group that you're part of, having friends where you can discuss spirituality and where you can grow together as a community. The fifth foundation is silence. This is time you take where you're not influenced by external communications, where you're not influenced by the endless, ceaseless thinking of the mind, and where you can just listen to universal silence and get inspiration. He recommends meditation for this. You may also perform mantra, prayer, as well as practices from many other traditions. The final foundation is Shaktipat, is the actual Kundalini awakening itself. Traditionally, it's thought that Kundalini awakening will most likely happen by ignition from somebody who already has achieved a full Kundalini awakening. Ideally, this is somebody that you meet in person, although it's said to happen at distance, even just by looking at a photograph of somebody who's achieved Kundalini awakening. For instance, Dr. Gabriel Cousens offers a photograph on his website of himself for this purpose. Although historically there have been examples of those who've gone through Kundalini awakenings completely spontaneously. The key point of this foundation is that you may spend hours a day, different practices. You may be religious with how you eat and super strict and still not achieve much. And this is because you lack the divine spark. There's a divine timing to it. It doesn't just happen because you want to make it happen. It's not like six pack abs to where you're definitely going to get it if you work hard enough and you eat the right way and you exercise enough, you will get there. With this, we're really laying a bed in a garden, and the seed has to come from outside of us. And so it's best to approach this type of work with humility and lack of insistence for a particular result in the terms of Kundalini awakening. Now, there are many intermediate results that you can get and you will get by performing meditation and these other foundations regularly. But full Kundalini awakening isn't yours to take, it's only yours to receive. So if you made it this far, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.